Welcome to the weekly meeting of personalities who know more than I ever will. This is PNR for May 9th, 2024. I'm Rob Akampora. This is the co-host and the card reader, Annabelle Miller. Our panel will be coming in just a second. 3 topics of discussion over the next hour or so. This ought to get interesting. This is what we are. This is what we do. To welcome back, first off, we'll go overseas into the UK because he wasn't here last week. Rick Paul, welcome back. Appreciate you coming back.
Really
always
pleased
good to have
be
you.
here.
He will always be our best dress on panel every week. We appreciate that.
Gonna agree.
Absolutely. To the left coast of North America, Thor Sandalwood from somewhere in a bunker I don't even know where.
Hello,
What's
everybody.
with the facial hair, my friend? That is a nice look. I like it.
We're trying this out. We're seeing if this is gonna add some flair.
I like the idea of flair. We'll see how you realize next week. If you're not liking it, you might be itching yourself like crazy. So just keep.
I'm already itching.
Heading south down into the Florida Panhandle region, Debbie is checking in with her new background. Welcome aboard.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here.
And last but not least, we cover the mid part of the United States as Tarot Destiny checks in, and our panel is fully aboard. Let us begin as we take a look at what has been happening this week.
So Debbie has some astronomical.
That's a word.
She has some solar information. Deb, what's going on up in the sky?
Well, we have had numerous solar flares. We had one yesterday. So if you're experiencing stuff, bad cell phone coverage or anything kind of funky, that's why. And it's supposed to be going on the rest of the year with it intensifying. Sorry, gotta put the teeth back in. July, August, and the rest of, so it's I found that because found that quite interesting because I was having trouble logging on this morning. So now we know
Just how I wanted to spend my summer. Thanks a lot.
Well, and it's a disclaimer just in case we have any technical issues.
Right.
We did see a little bit of hesitation on some of our video work here. So bear with us. It's not us. We are professional all day long. I'm blaming it on the sun, which has been shining down on Rick Paul. So he said there is a bold, shiny thing up in the sky that he didn't recognize out in beautiful England.
Not just my head either.
This is true. I can testify with that too, as the sun has actually crept in on the east coast of the United States for a few days, and now we're about to get rain, but we won't get into that. We're going to get into what we need to get into. We are here, and remember the other disclaimer, this is for entertainment purposes only, so please, whatever you do, no wagering. Here we go. We'll start with the U.S. support to Israel, or limiting support, as we'll say. Our president has said for the first time, and it happened on Wednesday, he would halt some shipments of American weapons to Israel, which he acknowledged has been used to kill civilians in Gaza, if Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu orders a major invasion of the city of Rafah. How this all plays out, I turn to you.
Boy, this is, the Middle East. I've been paying close attention to it. You guys know my dad is Jewish. We have good friends who still have family in Israel. So we are paying close attention. Worldwide, I think this is really kind of a powder keg that we've got that everyone should be paying attention to. I know it's easy to, it's on the other side of the world, but I think we should look at what the fallout from, President 46 is doing. Is that, what is his goal here? Why is he going for this? And I'm just going to pull some cards on this and give my opinion. We're changing format a little bit, so we're going to go one at a time, guys. So you get me first, you get my unvarnished opinion here. And thank you, Rob.
No problem
on that one.
Let's get the cards going as you have got the big deck going. Here we go.
Bringing some big deck energy. There we go. So, oh boy. So we're going to talk about the dominant energy here. And with this Knight of Swords, the messaging is all wrong here. The messaging is being delivered poorly. He's not happy with the situation that's there. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think he really knows what to do in this situation. I think he's trying to broker a peace there, but he's doing it in kind of a rough fashion. I think he's really pushing into a corner, thinking that they're going to sit down and be good. He is really trying to preserve his friendships on both sides, but he's acting way too quickly, and he's not working in a cooperative or collective manner. He's really just trying to push individuals into a certain spot. Under here, under the surface, this is one of my favorite cards in the tarot deck. We got the 3 of Cups in reverse. When it's in the upright, this is tribe. This is your girls that you're hanging out with, your guys that you're hanging out with. You're playing darts, you're doing makeup, you're running around, you're painting a house.
But it raises the question, who's his tribe? Who's he playing darts with? Who's he drinking with?
I don't think he's got a tribe. I think he's a tribe of one. I think he's really paying
Ooh.
attention to the effects of these things on the individual or small business. Let's put it that way. I don't think he's really looking at a grander picture here. It's, do as I say, not as I do. Follow my direction because I said so. That's
Now you're starting to
really
sound
what
like my parents. Oh, did I say that? I'm sorry.
Well, your parents are nice people.
They are, but it's still do as I say, not as I do.
So, this looks troubling. It doesn't look like he's got great advisement. It looks like he's also making some decisions unilaterally. So, not
Ooh,
really.
that's a
good
bold
scene.
statement, knowing full well that he's trying to play 2 sides of his own party, one that leans very far over and one that's trying to lean more toward the moderate side.
Yeah, well, I think he's got his own ideas about what's right. So, he did such a great job raising his son.
Oh,
So, did I say that?
Ooh.
remember, again, it's just for entertainment purposes.
For entertainment purposes, my own personal unvarnished opinion. So, my next question regarding did we decide that this was a conflict in the Middle East? Didn't we talk about that?
I
last
would
week?
believe, I would believe that what's
Think
been
what-
going on kind of it should be defined as a conflict.
But it's not.
It's
the
not a
W
war.
word.
No,
It's
no.
not the W word.
I don't think the W word has been used in any real context. But if you look on your outlets where you get your news, you hear the word conflict thrown out there very often.
I think they're trying to avoid the W word, don't you think?
It would seem so. It
Yeah.
would seem so, TD. I think it's a matter of, because this is such a powder keg and the idea of WWIII
Yeah.
could potentially come out of this. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why we're not seeing that W word come up, because I
Right.
think once it does, you can't put it back in the box, so to
No.
speak.
Right.
Really can't.
Take it
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. So I would like to see what Debbie's opinion of how how Israel is going to respond. Debbie, you up for that?
Well, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw you some cards, love.
Okay.
We're not letting you do this blind.
We're not gonna throw you under the bus.
Okay, and as we get the cards going.
All right. So Deb, lay it on us. What do you think's happening? How is Israel going to handle this and respond to it?
Well, Israel, I've got the Empress there. Israel is basically just going to say, they're going ahead. I mean, I have personal interests, and I'm Jewish. I have family over in Israel, and Israel's is the only supporter for us out there. So I see the Empress. There's what jumps out to me is the Two of Pentacles. I think Israel was trying to balance and was trying to, I guess not play the field, but basically trying to keep, be friends with everybody. And I think now all bets are off. They're taking care of themselves. We don't have bombs raining on us every day. They do. and that's what jumps out on me, is that they'll be respectful and say, okay, you're welcome to your opinion, but we're going to do what we need to do for our people.
Good take. Where do we go next?
So I'm curious about your take on that Queen of Cups. What do you think of that Queen of Cups up there? I mean, the Empress and the Queen of Cups, when they're together, I kind of like that pairing, but then we got that High Priestess in reverse underneath. What are we looking at here?
Well, I still think that they're the energy between the Queen of Cups and the Empress is it's good energy as far as Israel's concerned. They're going to do what they need to do, and yes, you've got some what is it, the High Priestess? It's a little hard to see in reverse.
That's
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not worrying me. I just think they're going to continue to do what they're going to do.
Okay. So what I think we need to look at next, let's get some feedback from Rick over there. Rick, would you like some cards, or do you want to do just mediumship on this?
If you do the cards, because it's one of those things that it's going to sound strange on a news program, but I don't particularly follow the news. So my take on it will be feelings, and also with the cards for me. Tarot always tells you a story. What my guides are bringing in.
Rick's take on anything we do here at PNR, for sure.
Truthfully, yeah, it is, because there's no sense in me making up a story when I haven't got the knowledge to back it up. So
no, and that we absolutely appreciate it. You are very honest as far as that goes. So based on the spread and what you're feeling, where are you going in your feelings here?
Yeah,
right, I've got a very strange English.
What are we looking at?
I've got a very strange sort of English saying here, and just both with the two interpretations so far and the questions that have been brought in. I think the problem is with Israel is they don't know whether to shave a shampoo. It's one of those things that they kind of want to be on side with people and maintain the peace. But like we were talking about off camera, it doesn't matter who you are, what your stance is and what your take is on life. We've all got limits. We've all got that point that once you're taken beyond, right, we might have sent out warnings. We might have wanted to negotiate with people. Might have wanted to do it all nicely. But if that's not responded to in kind, then everybody's got that go-to place where it's too far. So my personal take on this at the moment, and looking at that first card, is if you look why America would have a vested interest in it, what are they looking to protect? So I always look when there's somebody like supplying arms or supplying forces and things like that, what is their vested interest? Because for me, it's not always the country. It'll be a utility. It'll be access to a pipeline. It'll be some particular person that's votes winning. So that first card for me is whatever's going to stockpile the most money for them will be the tipping point. That'll be the vote winner. So what am I looking at on the second card? Because I can't quite make that one out.
That's our Queen of Pentacles in reverse.
Yeah, I'm still sticking with that. I mean, I'm only just learning with reverse with you. So that for me, when I'm looking at that and I'm asking the question out to my guides, if I've got somebody sat there on the throne and they're upside down, they're not secure in their position. And the money is sort of tumbling away from it somewhere. So I think it will come down to what money that they've actually got. Can they afford to invest in like supplying whatever it is that they're looking to supply? It's a very mixed situation. So if I got a client and I was doing tarot and this was coming up, I need a little bit more information with this. I feel like there's a blockage in some way or another. Things aren't flowing. Things aren't what they seem. And there's a lot more to it than meets the eye when I'm looking at these cards and the feeling that I'm actually getting off it. So
Rick, you're talking about, forgive me for interrupting, you're talking about more information. Let me throw this into the mix to defend something you were saying before. What about the location of Israel? Knowing that it is a port city, knowing it's along the water, and knowing that the potential of taking over this country means you gain the waterways.
Yeah. I mean, you think about that. If you've got control over something, you can say what goes where. And it's also a good chess piece situation as well of going, right, I'm holding this. You do what you need to do, but I'm still holding this. And then you've got time then. It's kind of like a reactionary gap. You've got time there to sit and assess what's going on. But then who's got all of the power controls the rest of the board. And I'm looking there with the justice. And this is where I'm like bringing in the hope side of it for me, that justice will prevail. But I've got this obsession at the moment with a lot of things with politics and the TV and things like that. What is actually real, what is perceived, and what is what I call candy floss? What is being thrown there to sort of misdirect people? What is the true essence of it all behind there? But my hope is when I see the justice there is that cooler heads, calmer heads will prevail. And I'm just moving on there with the swords card next to it there, where when I look at that, is that wands or swords?
That's wands, my dear.
I just feel surrounded. I actually sat energetically around me. I feel restricted. I feel like I'm hemmed in. So it's one of those. If you're going to do something, you might as well be hung for being a sheep or a lamb. Make a decision one way or the other. I just feel really, really trapped by all of that. But is it the 9 that we've got there?
That's a 9. 9 of wands, and then we've got the 8 of pentacles in reverse over here.
Well, the 9 of wands for me is all about perseverance. So this is for me is about the decision-making process. Make a decision and stick with it, and then see what your outcome is. But when I'm looking at that next card to it with the pentacles in reverse again, I'm not seeing success with this. I'm just seeing that block again. I just keep seeing like this stranglehold on something. And to be honest, there ain't going to be a victor in it, a clear victor in it. So there's a lot for me where I'm going, right, that really needs opening up. That needs flexibility. That needs where your negotiators and your spin doctors and all of the people that can sit round a table, because something about that, when I'm looking at those cards, I'm looking for words and I'm going, do you know what? It stinks. And I can't quite get past this BS.
That's kind of how I feel in the middle of a game of Risk, because you kind of said controls the board, feeling trapped, and you're being attacked from all angles. It is Risk.
It just stinks. So, and then we're looking at that card on the end there, and I'm just looking, right, nobody's playing with one another. So they're into strategy. So at the minute, it's ball juggling for me. So a lot more to be revealed. And we mentioned that we wasn't going to say about the W word. I think there's too much at stake to go down that route. You know, there could be a lot of posturing and people might fire a missile or two, but an out war, I don't think benefits anybody.
Absolutely not.
I think so too. So let's take it over to Thor, and then we'll reach out to TD. Thor, do you have any information on any of our leaders in the Middle East?
Well, I have a USA chart that I could look at just to tell us, kind of get an overview of why the US might be making this decision to stop the arms shipments, if we want to take a look at that.
Sure thing. You want to
Please
bring
do.
that up?
Yeah, let me bring that up. So here's the chart, everybody. This is the USA chart. And so what we're really looking at this is we're trying to decide, okay, why now? Why is the USA deciding to throttle down these arms shipments when it seems like it's been pretty steady for the last 6 months since October? So when I look at the chart, one of the things that I want to point out with everyone is transiting Saturn is actually right here in the sign of Aquarius right now. By the way, for all of you watching this, this is Vedic sidereal astrology. I know that Saturn is in another sign using Western tropical astrology. So Saturn's moving this way. This is the USA chart. And basically when it's going over the natal moon in an astrology chart, this is called Sati Sati. Okay. And we talked about this. Anna and myself talked about this quite a bit. Sati Sati is basically when people turn their backs on you. There's a sense of dejections. There's a sense of being rejected. And if we think about this from the USA point of view, we have the college protests. We have let's be honest, the media, the international media coverage of this is not really that positive for the state of Israel right now. So there is this idea of they're losing that international support. And so the more and more this thing drags on without a ceasefire, I feel like with this, what the chart is out also signaling is that, you know, the more and more the US is losing support around the world. In fact, we saw that recent votes at the United Nations, and I think among some of the countries, we've been noticing that the US is the only one that's vetoing these ceasefire votes in the United Nations. So what I feel like what's happening with this Saudi Sati is we're finding more and more the USA is getting backed into a corner. So they're not really having a lot of options. When we're talking about politics, we also got to take into account that international opinion is important. Okay, so having standing among the international community. The other thing I want to point out, remember the eclipse is on April 8th. We had April 8th. We had also before that, kind of going backwards here, March 25th. The eclipses happened on the 5-11 axis right here.
Thor, if I remember correctly, when you were talking about the eclipse on a past episode, that the residual effects could be felt for weeks, if not months, correct?
Absolutely. So the effects of especially the solar eclipse here in the sign of Pisces, this is going to be felt for 3 to 6 months. But let me tell you, the first 3 months are the most acute, the energies. So you'll notice that all this stuff is happening within, a little bit over a month after the solar eclipse. And this is actually triggering a lot of heavy karmas in the USA chart. And my chart's getting all drawn over here. Let's clean that up for a second. Just want to bring up one more point to everyone on all the viewers here. So the eclipses in the USA chart, okay, that doesn't want to go. But it's happening over natal Saturn here. So it's afflicting this in the axis. This is bringing up a lot of negative karmas for the USA. Okay. So that's why the USA right now, it actually seems kind of, bizarre that, oops, I kind of messed up the chart there. But it seems a little bizarre that the USA has been losing so much standing with this when there's been previous conflicts that have happened around the world and it wasn't losing so much standing. So this is definitely a change of generations. The opinions, we got the college protests going on. So this is definitely a different world than, for example, what we had with like the first Gulf Wars in the 90s and then the 2004 Iraq invasion. This is a different world we're in. So, this is a world where, people are in Israel right now and they're out there with their phones on TikTok and putting out videos, and we're seeing more up close and personal what's going on.
Wow.
Interesting stuff.
Interesting. And my wonderful husband, Gregopedia, had just posted up a comment. Let me pull that back up there again. That the legacy media is showing people in Gaza are frolicking on the beach. Oh, not showing that people are frolicking on the beach.
Got that little word there.
Not,
N-O-T.
yeah, that makes a difference.
Right.
So there's, I think there's a lot going on here. Thor, I do have a question for you. When you look at the United States chart, how do you establish the go date on that? Do you use July 4th, 1776? What's the go date for the
Actually,
US?
yeah. So we use
Really? I did.
there's July 4th, 1776, and the time is at 5 p.m. And that's when they believe that was the approximate time that the signers signed everything.
Oh,
Yeah.
how
So that
cool.
was when the
How cool is
institution
that?
was put into effect around
Very
that time. So it is an estimated birth time, but there's been a lot of scholars that looked at it that think it happened in the afternoon around 5 p.m.
And is it that important to be, let's say, that precise as far as your world is concerned?
Generally, it is. But as long as we're with this kind of chart, I would say as long as we're within a couple of hours of when it actually happened. But even then, we could still use the planets themselves are always going to be in the same sign. So we could still use the moon chart regardless if we didn't even know the time. but within 2 hours of the time, we could have actually kind of an accurate ascendant chart.
Very cool.
Good information to know.
That is
Very
great.
cool.
That
We
is
got to
neat.
get your chart done.
At some point, Thor and I will
Yep.
have to do a sit down. I think I need to know a little bit more about where my life is going.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to throw it over to Tarot Destiny next. So Tarot Destiny, one of the things that I found fascinating, I did some research on Israel's Iron Dome. And if you don't know anything about their defense systems, with David Sling, Iron Dome, it is absolutely fascinating. It's one of the most technologically advanced
Yes.
defense systems in the world, if not the most technologically advanced systems. Now, the United States does fund that a great deal. I'm wondering if the next move is going to be to really defund, not defend, but defund Iron Dome. I'm going to pull up some cards for you. You tell me what you think.
Oh shit.
There. I knew there was going to be a reaction somewhere. It was way too quiet after the first 3 cards. Then card number 4 came up, and we heard the oh shit.
Yeah, I think all of those cards are kind of oh-ish.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry guys about the background noise. I don't think it looks good for funding. We've got the 7 of Pentacles in reverse, and we've got the Queen of Swords in reverse.
We've got that
Right.
Queen of Swords in reverse too.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's going to go through. I think they're going to try with the 8 of Pentacles, but I don't think it's going to happen.
You don't think that they will try and defund it?
No, I think they will try and defund it.
Yeah, I think this looks like they're going to pull
Yeah.
back a little bit and say, well, if you
Yes.
don't do this, we're going to do this.
Right. Yeah.
Oof. Heavy situation. Well, this is one that we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on.
Welcome to the long hot summer. Here it comes.
I don't think it's going away anytime soon. So,
No.
Rob, what's our next topic? It's a little juicier, a little more
Well,
salacious.
let's just put it this way: because of the fact that within the last, let's say, 45 minutes, Stormy Daniels has finished her testimony after a couple of days on the stand. Yes, 45 still feeling a lot of heat out of New York and that whole situation. Now, to follow up, Daniels' testimony was graphic details on Tuesday about the alleged sexual encounter with 45. It prompted the judge to go off and admonish the prosecution for not doing more to rein in her answers. Judge later chastised the defense after Trump had been cursing and shaking his head during all this, which, by the way, can sway a jury. Then there was talk of they requested a mistrial. Trump's lawyers requested that. That was denied. We still got a lot to go on in that whole thing. And plus, he still has issues in a couple of other cases that are still to be determined.
He's like pretty much on tour. In court,
Well, that's the whole
isn't he?
thing. As opposed to campaigning to try to become 47, he's campaigning as 45 just to try to be 45. If everybody's following along with the logic, I apologize. You're doing math.
Those of you that are new to the channel or new to discussions like this, we have to refer to President 45 as President 45
Or just 45.
because if we say his name, we get in trouble. So,
You know.
uh,
Yeah, watch. He copyrighted his name. We're copyright infringement.
We have to talk in code.
Exactly.
so where?
And the code word for today is 45.
So Rob, it's like password.
Yes.
Password.
Yeah, I got that
Like, I
voice.
love password.
The password is Stormy.
So Rob, what do you want to know? Like you're a consumer of news. You are a purveyor
Yeah.
of news. What do you want to know?
What's interesting to me is that here's Stormy Daniels suddenly having her 15 minutes of fame again. Remember, here's this person who was
Right.
nothing more than in the world of pornography. You knew who she was. If you didn't watch those videos, you're like, Stormy Daniels. And for that matter, did her parents actually name her Stormy? But that's another issue for another time.
Wait, what's your name? Fluffy? Fluffy Rivers?
Yeah, if we go by the old adage, you name your porn name after the street you lived on and the name of your first pet. I'm Fluffy Rivers. This movie's gonna suck just for that casting.
Mine would be Smoky Copper.
Deb, say it again.
I said mine would be Smoky Copper.
That's the best name of the book.
Actually, kind of a
Smoking
cool
Copper
name, right?
works, man. You're getting A-list roles in D-list movies. There you go.
So, we are, as usual, having a lot of fun here, guys. So,
But I think we really need to kind of look. We've looked into the future of 45 before. I think we've done that in the cards numerous times. The question is, with the panel, where's the offshoot here? We can look into how his presidency may play out, how the election is going to play out, but we're still too far away from figuring that all out. Do we look into Stormy Daniels and say, okay, where does her life go from here? I mean, I could probably predict it, but the cards may say something else.
I would love to see her motivation.
Mhm.
I would love to see where her life goes from here. I would love to see how genuine she's being. Why
Well,
don't we
there.
just look at some of that?
Yeah. Considering that's been called into question as far as what was her motivation for taking the money, and the timeline of everything, which was revealed in her testimony.
So let's start out with her motivation. And Thor, do you have a chart for Stormy? I don't know if we discussed that beforehand, and I don't know if you're a
don't
fan.
have a chart for Stormy Daniels. I wish I did.
Yeah, I would imagine that Saturn would be in some kind of grade that we don't even know about. Just knowing that for.
Well, we just want to know where Uranus is.
Well, I did set her up on that one, didn't I?
That was great. It's
Yeah.
pronounced Uranus.
I'm blushing too doing this. So thank God we're an itty bitty channel.
Now I
right
can tell you what's going on with Trump's chart. I don't have
yeah,
the
go
slide;
ahead,
it's
go
not
ahead.
loading for me, but I can definitely tell you all what's going on in Trump's chart. So he's in a time right now with Rahu transiting through the sign of Pisces. That started back in October of 2023. That continues till May of 2025. He's in the time of what's known as Rahu transiting the 8th house, which is for better or for worse 45. And did I say the name? I meant 45.
That's okay.
But
We got you. We're still an itty bitty
That's okay.
channel. They may
Hey,
not
we
like
just
it.
said we just said Uranus, so you're okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, 45 is in its time right now. When Rahu's eighth house, we heard about all these secrets. Apparently, in the trial, there were these intimate moments that were even put on public display. I mean,
Oh
could
my
you imagine the feeling
Yeah.
of talking about your encounters?
Pardon me, I have to go throw up.
Your intimate encounters with people
Oh.
being openly displayed in the courtroom and the media, and so it's quite humiliating. And quite frankly, 45's in a time of astrological. This is why I feel like there's such difficulty with him attaining the presidency. Come November, is he's in kind of this time of disgrace. Like there's all these powers that are arrayed against him. There's all this news. He's getting caught up in all these legal processes. And I don't see all this stuff with the astrological chart, like really being sorted out, especially with the legal cases and things like that, till 2025, which would be after the election.
Right.
So I feel like they're tying him up with all these things. If you look at him in the courtroom, he looks worn down. He's starting to get worn down with all this stuff. And when you're trying to run an election campaign, you need all the energy you can get.
Absolutely
Right.
true. Absolutely true. We will now go to the cards. I will pull that up right here and see what Annabelle has come up with us as I go here.
So if this is Stormy Daniels' intent, is really what I'm looking at. There's a lot of ego that's coming in with this 9 of Swords in reverse and our King of Pentacles in the right. This is almost someone who has doubled down on their belief, their platform, and is really just going for broke at this point. Make or break. When we get this 2 of Pentacles too, that's a make or break. I am making a hard court press to the hoop. And that I think is what she's doing. I think this is why we are getting so much emotion, so much detail in that
It-
testimony.
It's interesting when you talk about that card going with the hoop, and it almost looks like it is this juggling act, and that's what Stormy Daniels is doing, trying to juggle almost two ends of the spectrum during this whole thing.
Absolutely. So, the swords are dealing with logic versus the cups that are more emotion, more fluidity, more kind of heartfelt presentation.
Mhm.
But when we get swords in reverse, we get this absence, this vacuum of logic in some cases. And that's really what I'm getting here, is that this is a vacuum of logic where she was wringing her hands and stressed out about the situation. Now all the logic has been sucked out of the situation, and she's presenting very emotionally, trying to get an emotional reaction. With our kings of swords, they are usually swayed by logic. With our kings of cups, they are swayed by emotional pleas. I feel that she is moving into the emotional plea. She is really trying to impose on the jury, on the judge, on everyone in that room, the gravity of what she felt in that situation, or the gravity of what she believes she felt in that situation.
Which, by the way, leads to another set of cards that I will suggest after we're done with this, by the way. So please continue.
So, she's coming out of this as a strong, outspoken woman. That is really, if she was sitting down and manifesting and writing her goals, she wants to come through this and be a stronger person, a woman that other women can look up to, a woman that stands as an example of someone who ran the gauntlet, came through it, and survived. That's where we get this hope card up here. The star card is always about hope. We're looking for the future. We're planning for the future. She does not care what the judgment on her is at the end of all this. She's going to say her piece, and she's going to say it as loud as possible, and she doesn't care who believes her or not. Here, she's going to be partnering up for the future, coming up with some new goals. So as we get through this, her intent is really to come through this as a transformed person, as someone who, experienced some terrible things or purportedly terrible things, and is going to come through as a transformed person, able to be a leader for others. What's coming through very strongly, and I love her, Tina Turner. Tina Turner came from meager beginnings, was set up for success by Ike Turner, had a tremendously, unilaterally, everyone agrees that marriage was bad, was a bad thing, and then rose herself up. What was she, 40 years old when she had her revival?
With what's love got to do with it?
Got to do with it? It's
Yeah.
got everything to do. Because she was a private dancer. I love Tina Turner. Oh, I love her. She was such a loss.
Tina Turner was great.
It's almost like she wants to come across as that kind. That's really the archetype she's looking for, is a hard done by woman who rose to the occasion, succeeded, eclipsed the man that did her wrong. So that's really what we're looking at with Miss Stormy here. I think it's a very interesting platform. Now, again, I want to stress that is her perspective of things here. So that's really where she's coming from. This is her mindset. So
we'll call it Life in Thunderdome. Right? We're going to continue with the Tina Turner references.
Can we?
Love Tina Turner.
I love it. Let's do it. I'm gonna start singing Proud Mary.
If I can with you, when you were talking about that last set, it dawns on me as we talk about it. They did not declare a mistrial on this, but because of all the personal information that has been revealed, here's my question with the cards and potentially to others in the panel. Can a fair trial be done now with all the information that has been let out? Because maybe the prosecution put out too TMI, so to speak, and now the jury has been influenced in not well.
Tainted?
In creating the question of a fair and impartial trial, which is where the jury was supposed to come in, not come in with any preconceived notion, come in with a willingness to listen to the facts. And now suddenly we got too many facts, so to speak.
Yeah, we got a lot of facts.
Probably a lot to be bargained for.
Yeah, little TMI.
Well, this is how we feel about TMI, but TMI is in society. This is where it is. And it came all out at once. That didn't sound good.
No.
So, if you want to know if the environment is appropriate for a fair trial, I
Thank
think
you.
that that's a really good spread to do here. Again, pardon the pun.
There's too many of them. There really
It's
is.
too easy. So let's throw this out to TD. Is it possible for a fair trial?
DD, here come the cards.
Hermit, Ace of Cups. No.
And now the theme. Do, 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 do. Sorry. That's why I only did that much.
I think 20 seconds. You can do 20 seconds.
I did 3. We can't get in trouble.
Can name that tune in 3 notes.
All right, TD, you stalled long enough. What do you got?
With the I'm sorry, repeat the question again one more time.
So is the environment possible for a fair trial?
Right. Okay. No, I don't believe so. We have the I'm looking in particular at the 2 of Cups in reverse with the 9 of Wands in reverse. So they're try to reach an agreement, but it's not going to be successful. And whatever they try to do, whatever action they try to take is not going to be successful. And with the 9 of Wands in reverse.
Well, that leads to 2 questions. Does that mean a not guilty verdict or a hung jury?
Throw down 3 more and we'll get the panel's review. We got 10 of Cups in reverse, 8 of Wands, and the Tower in reverse. Ooh.
Hung jury.
Hung jury, says Deb.
Hung jury.
Rick, I want to come to you just on feel from what you were just seeing and not having a stake in this because you're overseas observing.
Can I just bring in, like, right from listening to what's been going on, the word that's going through my mind at the moment is ew. And can I have a bottle of please for my mind's eye? Because as I read this tonight, when I come off screen, I'm just going, oh, I feel like I need therapy. I feel like I need 3 showers. This is just all so dirty.
Imagine being a jury.
Oh, yeah. What did you do today, Daddy? And then repeating it out. No, but in all seriousness, when I'm looking at that, to me, it's this thing about the falseness of it all. I've mentioned to you before about the thing about post turtles, where people sort of find themselves in this high-rise position. Nobody put them there. Nobody elected them. Nobody put them in that place. And yet, all of a sudden, they come to prominence, and they come to prominence for just being for the sake of where they've ended up. And so I just got the sense with this Stormy Daniels thing that what she's doing is she's flogging a dead horse. I've got this image in my mind of sort of keeping somebody propped up so you can keep hitting them. It's almost like the boxer on the last legs that knows they should retire and they should get out of the fire, but there's too much coming out of it, whether it's entertainment, whether it's money, whether it's just attention to the media and things like that. For me, it's just a carnival of how do we say it? Carnival of Isht, an Isht show for me.
Yeah.
That's just doing there to promote other people's needs and wishes. And looking at those last 3 cards, it's still got a long time to run. I think they'll grind it down and grind it down and grind it down, and I don't think there'll be any secure answer. And I'm going to have to agree with my minuscule bit of knowledge. And when I say this, I'm talking pinprick here, Thor, that, you know, we're talking long term here before this has even it's got so many legs to run with that I think 2026 has just gone through my head as completion for some reason or another, where we get. And by then, it'll all have been brushed under the carpet anyway, and what will happen will needed to have happened. So, yeah, thanks. If you guys could all club together and fund for a large bottle of bleach for me and a large bucket that I can throw up in, because it's like, ick.
Yeah, we may have
Yeah.
to invest in stock if this is going to 2026 in your mind, Rick, because I don't think there's enough bleach to keep any of us clean.
Yeah, a little bleach
Yeah.
and a soul brush.
A soul brush, there you
Yeah,
go.
really.
Well, I
I'm
think,
gonna wash this right out of our anyway.
I think that's the
Exactly.
goal, right? Is to keep him so tied up in court, it just wears him down and
Yep.
wears him down during the election year. And then after it's over with, then they're going to be done with it and nothing's ever going to come of it.
So, Rob, one of the things that you were talking to me about before we started the show
Mhm.
was that 45 has been very emotive in the courtroom.
Yes.
There's been
A
verbal
lot,
eruptions.
a
There's
lot more
been-
facial reactions than I ever expected, which defends some of the things that have been said on the panel. That he is feeling worn down, and I think it's starting to show in him, especially afterwards when he comes out and greets the press. You are
Yes.
looking at a man who is definitely paler, looks
Yes.
weaker, and just looks absolutely just
Tired.
fed up.
Exhausted.
And then that when you
Yeah.
get to that point, then all of a sudden the fatigue factor comes into play. And to defend what
Yep.
Thor said, when you're out on the campaign trail, being in the best possible shape is so important that at this point, as Sloppy Dealer has arrived, I have to pick up a card.
Sloppy
Or-
shuffle of
It's
the
sloppy.
night.
Yes. It defends the point of everything on the panel because this is a man who's not operating at 100%, not even close.
So let's take a look at him.
Okay.
Deb, you game to take a look at 45?
Sure, I'm game.
All right. Here come the cards.
This is just how he's doing in that courtroom with his
Ugh.
with the emoting that he's doing. Is it going to serve him well?
Wow.
There you go, Bobby.
Ooh. All right.
Yeah, but I love your
he's-
reaction sometimes.
Yeah, that's why I don't play cards. I don't have a poker face at all.
Exactly. What do you say, poker face?
You know what, Deb? We're going to get you up here. We're going to play poker up here because I don't have a poker face either. And Greg and Rob do. So we're going to get up here. We're going to play a little four set.
Oh my God, I would lose. He from these cards, he's trying to, especially is that the 6 of Wands.
Six of
He's
Wands. This
trying-
one,
Yeah,
it's
he's that's
jumping out
jumping.
at
At,
me.
I'm sorry, what?
It's jumping out at me. That Six of Wands and the Magician
That's
right
what's
there.
That's what's jumping out at me is that one there. He I know he looks downtrodden and he looks tired, but he still feels that he's going to win. That's what I'm getting there. It's they're throwing everything but the kitchen sink at the guy, and I really feel that bringing up all that other ick stuff yesterday in court was not a good thing, because juries are very strange, and you can take just so much of hearing stuff like that, and I really feel he feels that he's gonna be triumphant in this, that it's gonna come out in his favor.
Deb, let me ask you this while you're on that. If we can get the board back up, because not knowing, but I noticed one of the cards is saying the Magician card. So in that sense, is that the feeling of that he feels he's going to win, that he magically is going to pull the rabbit out of his hat and nothing's going to defray him, and he will be 47?
Yeah, that's his thinking. That is his thinking. He is going to now, whether he, I think this is beating him up a lot, but just from what I'm seeing on the cards, yeah, I
Right.
think he really believes that he is going to overcome all these adversities that there's what? I don't know. I've lost track of how many court cases he has. But
Like 100.
Rob,
Yeah.
I was
Right,
gonna say,
exactly.
it seems like Rob is a good tarot reader now.
I wouldn't go that far. Just as a matter of fact, I'm looking and going, it said Magician, and I try to interpret. I'm like, don't get me in this world.
Just go with
I'm
those
just-
intuitions, Rob. Just go with it.
yeah, really.
Right. I did that earlier. Now we all need a shower. But anyway.
Feel the force. Just feel the force.
Yeah, I just said to Rob quietly, Thor, I want to know what you think. Do you think that he's gonna take this election, or do you think it's gonna be a damn squid, as our buddy Rick over there says across the pond?
And before you even say anything, because you were saying before about how the carryover effect that what you're seeing, the astrological charts going into 2025, we didn't get into whether or not it's like, is it favorable to him or unfavorable to him?
Well, I have some theories about even feeling like, are these elections gonna happen? But
Whoa.
I mean, that's another.
Yep.
I think we wait on
another
that one
show.
till probably
That's
September.
Another show.
You know, because there's a lot of people thinking that around the next time of the eclipses in September and October is going to be the next pair of eclipses. There's a
Right.
lot of astrologers and psychics predicting there's going to be a lot of chaos around the time of the election. So there's been a lot of intense predictions. But if I'm just looking at 45's chart, he's in a time of, like I said, he's in a time of decline essentially in the chart. If I was to see him gaining the presidency, my personal opinion is I feel like he would be in a stronger time period. So when we look at when he won back in, what was it, 2016, when he won when he became 45 initially, he was in a very strong period. He was in like a Mars period. Mars is in the first house. It's like vitality. Look at me. I pulled off this miracle that I won. Everybody thought that, Hillary Clinton was going to win that. And then he pulled out this win kind of out of nowhere. Well, I feel like that gusto that he had back in 2016, that gusto has been removed. And now there's been so much controversy. Now I do feel like he still has a lot of supporters. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people around the country. But we have the January 6th. We have all these things that are kind of coming up, Stormy Daniels. We have all these things that are kind of piling up. And sometimes it can be that the universe is stacking up way too many obstacles where even if you have the best intentions, it can be like an uphill battle.
It's the amazing reversal of fortune in a sense, as you said. The planetary alignment in 2016 was almost perfect for him. Now the alignment is throwing so many different curveballs that it's almost like duck, dodge, dip, and try to maneuver.
Yeah.
Wild indeed. So shall we move on to a softer, more fun?
I think we need.
Is it a fun topic?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's fun.
Need a cleansing palette.
But I think this one is definitely one that is fun, but it also is a little alarming depending on what end of the industry you're in. Because throughout social media, AI took center stage recently at the Met Gala, where images of Katy Perry, Rihanna, and Lady Gaga were actually confused for the real person. So much so there were rumors that even Katy Perry's mom was confused that, what do you mean that's not Katy Perry? The Lady Gaga image got the most hits, where it was
really
like,
cool.
yeah, but it was
really cool.
posted everywhere. And a lot of people were like, that's not Lady Gaga? Whoa. It was a surprise. AI is something that can be a tool, but the way it's being presented, it could wind up being the future of everything, where they can take an image and all of a sudden, oh, we don't need you for this acting role. Or, oh, we have an image of your voice. We don't need you anymore. Well, am I getting compensated for it? As somebody who is in the media, in radio, what if they come to me and say, well, we got your likeness of your voice. We can do a whole show based on just your voice. It may not sound 1,000% perfect, but it's going to be about 98, 99% accurate. I may not have the inflections, but now they're using the voice. Well, what do I get out of it? Am I going to get compensated for it? Because if I'm not, we got problems.
There's no way AI is as funny as you. This is a funny
No.
guy.
I don't think we can replace Rob with AI.
No, I agree.
So one of the things that I wanted to bring up was the Back to the Future 2 movie, where Crispin Glover had scheduling conflicts and was unable to fill the role of George McFly. Was it George McFly Sr.?
Yeah, he played the father, exactly.
So he was unable to do that. So the studio had secured an actor, created a rubber mask, and then hung George McFly upside down for the filming. And they essentially stole Crispin Glover's identity and had an actor playing Crispin Glover playing George McFly. And it was a pretty intense court situation where Crispin Glover did come out on top. And he did win that. They did, it was determined that they stole his identity.
Not knowing that where we are in 2024, that here is becoming life in a sense.
Right.
And then a few months ago, there was a robocall that went out that was 46's voice with some alarming information. It went out to some voters in New England. So there's been a political campaign recently to not trust what you see, AI. Now, in the digital world, we're doing this on a digital platform. We're on, several different continents. We're, we're in different countries, different time zones. It's a beautiful thing. We're all meeting up here, but we do have digital backgrounds.
Yeah,
Rob and I could be on the beach. Wouldn't that be great?
that'd be quite a trip.
So,
But we're
I
not going
could
to
be over having tea with the king.
so the implications of using AI in entertainment, in media, is a little bit scary. Now, also, I do want to add one more thing. Bruce Willis, who unfortunately is suffering from dementia, prior to him losing control of his faculties, he had agreed with the family to sell his identity. So they can use his image in the future. Now, is that going to be used with holograms? Is that going to be used in movies? Are they going to AI him?
Let me give you two examples of how it's being used right now. When you take a look at the R&B band TLC, they have been using Lisa Left Eye Lopez's AI while on stage doing the concerts. They've been doing that for a couple of years. So even before
Oh, no.
we're seeing in 2024. Now, also take it one step further with Val Kilmer, who's been suffering from cancer. They used AI to regain his voice so he could do the speaking role in the second Top Gun, which was a beautiful, poignant thing. But that's using it in the right way, because you've got a gentleman who could not in any way, shape, or form have the voice to do it. He was more than willing to do it, and it became probably one of the poignant parts of that movie, Top Gun Maverick.
So my question to our panel, is this a good thing or is it a bad thing?
And I, as somebody who's in the media, I can see the defense for and against, especially if it's going to come into my pocket and take money away from me. But let the cards speak. Remember, this is all for entertainment. I'm already in trouble. The fool card's up. Okay. I'll be leaving now. AI's going to be doing the hosting of this. Anyway.
Full card's not a bad thing. That's just a new beginning. It's a new way of looking at things.
Right.
Okay.
I'm going to take the helm on this one, guys. So I think right now, the way that AI is being wielded is a little reckless. I'm going to quote Dr. Ian from Jurassic Park. You didn't think about
Terminator.
Do it, but if you could do it, and now you're selling it.
Terminator. Terminator. Terminator.
So, I think the main problem is that the generosity to the artists, that they're going to be creating these alternate identities, let's call it that. That first of all, they're not going to fit the bill. A lot of people are going to be able to see that this isn't the genuine
article.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How'd you know? I he is getting psychic because the word was not in my head. He knew the word. Psychic, mind melt. So I think they're going to have to tinker with this a little bit more before we launch into this brave new world. And there is going to have to be some set of guidelines, guardrails, laws. I hesitate to use the word laws, but guardrails.
As opposed to laws, let's say it as far as maybe contract negotiations. Because if you're going to take the likeness of somebody or their voice and you're not going to properly compensate them, and we're talking about it from a level of businesses now trying to save money. No. There's got to be a fair and equitable way of doing it. And this is just saying it away from the cards. So playing it into the cards, that's where I'll say that card represents. So
the machine can't be cheaper than the real.
Thank you. Well said.
Genuine article.
Genuine article. Thank you. Well said.
So the good news is that under the surface, I do see this being successful, but it's going to have to be tinkered with. My thinking, 10, 15 years, we're going to have to go down the road before we really see any fair and equitable presentation of this. I'm curious what Rick Paul has to say about this, because he does communicate with spirit. And what is spirit telling you, sir?
Well, you mentioned 10 to 15 years. Truthfully, went through my head, and Spirit have this habit when I'm doing work of painting me numbers. And I got between 5 and 8 with this. So I
Okay.
feel that it is coming in a lot quicker than what we all believe. And it's going to be one of those, if we sit there quiet, we're going to be overrun with it. Because
Yeah.
you were
Right.
starting out Terminator, Debbie, and all I kept hearing is, I want your car, your boots, and your motorcycle. And that was just
I'll
what
be
was
back.
just
That's it.
playing through my head, that somebody's going to
That's-
come in steamroller in it. And if
Yeah.
we don't stand up as a collective, we'll get overrun by it. And I'm not into sci-fi in that way, that all of a sudden the machines are going to rise up and take over the world. But
Did
if
you
think
not see
that,
Terminator?
but all machines, all computers are only as good as the input that's programmed into them. So there's got to be fail safes and things put in there to avoid these potential things. Because at the end of the day, we're kind of beholden to those people behind the screens that are telling us it'll all be okay, it'll all work out, and we're all going to get a fair deal out of it. But I, for one, am just going, well, there's a part of me that wants to keep a lot of the things old school, because the more AI and the more artificial things that we bring in, the more reliant we are on machines, the less people are in actual real work. You know, you've only got to look at your local supermarkets and things like that, where you're funneled through these automatic services now, and then somebody stands at the end and says, can I check your receipt? Well, no, you can't, because you've trusted me to walk through your machines and put
Right.
everything through. So no, I'm not employed by you. So I think, for me personally, I'm not scaremongering, but I do feel really nervous about all of this, that there needs to be sort of somebody standing up for the little man and the little woman and going, this is a bit scary. Can we throw in damp squib there? No, I don't think so. I was trying to find a way of working those two words into the sentence, but no, I just feel like it's a powder keg waiting to go off. So I shall sit there with
I
the
do
tin hat
too.
on and just wait and see what happens. Rob, I think you've got a battle on, because you need to copyright your voice immediately.
Yeah.
It's funny you say, Rick. It's funny you're saying it that way. Most of us in the industry are already contemplating that. We're at the point of, we almost have no choice, because if we don't protect ourselves in the long run, we're going to be really left at the altar with nothing. So
Yeah.
that this is where, in a sense, the union SAG-AFTRA is really trying to be proactive and helping those in that world. So fingers crossed we can come up with a solution. But if we're 5 to 8 years from now, kind of looking at everything going, everybody looks a little bit off. Why is his wife an AI? Well, you know, it could get that ridiculous.
Yeah. And I think
Terminator.
for all of us on the panel, we have some issues too, because we're out there as well in the entertainment world. So they already have AI tarot card readings.
Oh,
They
really?
all have-
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Are
Yeah,
you
can access
serious?
those
I didn't
apps.
know that.
I do.
Yeah,
have-
well, I mean, you don't get all the
I-
psychic stuff, but
I-
you can get the inductive readings from just a regular tarot app or
Mhm.
something like that.
No.
For sandalwood, though, I
They could
don't
never
think anybody can
replace
do what he
us.
does.
No.
Well, that's an
Terminator.
interesting question, Thor, because you dive so deep into that world. It doesn't seem like AI can actually even come close to recapturing some of the things you do with your charts and the way you do what you do.
Well, yeah, I think it's going to be hard to duplicate an actual personality, but I mean, if we think about it, could they create an artificial personality that's eccentric and charismatic and able to, we don't really know how far they can go with artificial intelligence. Is it going to get to the point where we can have conversations with AI and we're going to think that that person on the phone is literally just another human we're talking to? So we really don't know where this is going. But what I wanted to bring up as an astrologer, of course, I got to bring up astrology. Many of you and many of our subscribers might be into the metaphysical world. You might be familiar with this whole thing of the age of Aquarius. It was a really big deal around 2012. They said we were changing astrological ages. And so we went from the age of Pisces, 2012 happened. We entered the age of Aquarius. There's this changeover effect that we're going through right now. So we're not really fully into the new age, which these astrological ages last 2,160 years. Okay. Now, the age of
Wow.
Aquarius, I want you to think, and this is to everybody. If you think about the precursor of the age of Aquarius was the 90s when we entered the information age. Remember, that was when everyone got their dial-up internet. And now we're slowly progressing into AI and automation. So we're getting into a more technological civilization. We're in a fork in the road right now, though. We're kind of in the, if any of you remember the mythology of Atlantis, okay? We're in
Mhm.
this
Yes.
fork in the road moment of, where the legend of Atlantis was they let the technology get out of control and they destroyed themselves.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
AI, they're already talking about how can we use AI in these various weapons systems. And it harkens us back to like the movie Terminator. Or could we end up in a
See?
Skynet type of civilization? But bringing us back to astrology here, what I want you to know is we're at a precipice right now. There's two roads we can go. We could go into a Star Trek civilization where menial labor and menial jobs become a thing of a past, and we enter this new age of abundance. Or we could go into more of a dark road where there's this, there ends up being a Hunger Games society where we have the Met Gala and we have the people in the different divisions and struggling to get by. So we are at that fork in the road, and we can, as a collective, we have to choose where we want to go.
Right.
I think the most fascinating part of that whole thing was you talked about the age of Aquarius. So
Yeah.
the group who sang that song in the 70s was
Fifth
lying.
Dimension.
It wasn't the dawning of the age of Aquarius in the 70s. It wasn't until the
Right.
90s.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I'm hearing in the background, this is the dawning of the age of
I'm
Aquarius.
I was singing. Yeah.
I got it in my head too.
I was singing.
I like to
Yeah.
thank you for at least playing along with me. You will now have that song in your head for the rest of the day.
Yes,
Thank you so
exactly.
much. As we get ready to wrap up, a couple of quick hits about, don't forget, right here at PNR, there are things that pop up during the week, and the panel will be popping up during the week with specific little things that have been popping up. So we stay on top of the current events like.
So Peter Jackson, Greg Apedi and I are huge Lord of the Rings fans, Hobbit fans. I'm a Hobbit fan. He's a Lord of the Rings fan. Peter Jackson just announced today that he's going to direct not one, not two new Lord of the Rings movies. The first one's going to be centered on Gollum, the story of Gollum. Andy Serkis is set to star and direct. So we'll do a little featurette on that, see how the movie's going to go.
Wait a minute. No, Andy Serkis is Planet of the Apes. Wait a minute.
Is that what I said?
Now I'm like going,
Oh.
the ape's going to show up in Peter Jackson's movie. That was the first
My
thought I
God,
had.
that would be so cool.
That would be weird.
So speaking of the Met Gala before,
Mhm.
Zendaya is on fire. The woman slayed at the Met Gala. She had not one, not two, but three spectacular looks. Now, those of you that do follow the Met Gala, these outfits, they are works of art. They're walking works of art.
Mhm.
She was decked out in three amazing works of art. Now, if they're pouring all that money into her,
Mhm.
there's stuff that's on the table. Now, is she not dating Tom Holland? It's still like a big question mark.
Well, it raises the question because don't forget, 5 years ago, where did they meet? Spider-Man movie.
Spider-Man movie, yes,
Mhm.
and that was on Italian TV.
Right.
She was on Italian TV. They gave her a bouquet of roses,
Mhm.
and they said, "Did these come from Spider-Man?" And she turned to the
Mhm.
camera and did one of these. So,
And what's interesting too, if you go back 5 years ago, you're talking about two young 20-something. Now they're both 27. You kind of sit there and go, they make a cute couple. Does the math add up?
the math is mathing for me. So,
Did
we'll,
you just say the math is
the
mathing?
math is mathing. So we're going to do a featurette on her. Also, Britney Spears, there's some talk about her vacationing to excess, vacations that are in excess of six figures. So my
Nice.
vacations include going out to my backyard and mowing the lawn. Sometimes it's kind
The
of like
staycation.
Yeah, or either putting on a baby suit and running under sprinkler. There you go.
Yeah.
So,
Yep,
Britney Spears,
that's
there's
it.
some concern that she's going broke. So we'll do a featurette during.
How do you go broke after that residency in Vegas? I mean, she had that for years.
Well, I think I read that she's worth about 60 million. So
It's mind-boggling. It
monopoly.
really is mind-boggling.
That's
Yeah,
monopoly
it is.
money for me.
So, we'll
Monopoly
see.
money.
Monopoly money. There you go.
I
That's
think
good.
I got Park Place, Boardwalk, and
Really?
the
Not a
concern is
clue.
that there's no revenue stream for her. No active revenue stream. She may have investments. She may have some things going on with that, but
but you're right. Ever since the residency stopped, everything else stopped.
right.
Yeah.
So, do you want to take our next one?
No, you take that.
Ah.
No, please.
So this was a fun little tidbit that I found. I want to do a deeper dive on it. Fake pandas. The Taizu Zoo in Jiangsu province debuted a pair of pandas on May 1st. It looked a little sus because they were dyed chow chow dogs. So
Oh wow.
from that, I want to see what the fallout's going to be. You know, what these two panda chow chows are going to turn out to be.
If I want fake pandas, I will give it to you. Very simple. I'll go to Huntsville, Alabama, and watch the Rocket City Trash Pandas play minor league baseball. That's all. There's your fake pandas, people.
Well, all I know is that I want a chow chow now because I want to dye it to look like a panda. I'm just
Why
saying.
not?
Oh,
The
please,
official
no.
mascot of PNR.
Last but not
The
least,
dog will, no,
I
please.
think it makes a lot of sense for the panel to look into, are we going to have a U.S. election at all? You know,
Well,
Thor-
it goes back to what Thor was saying. I mean, I think this is going to be something that if we time it right, and Thor, would you agree that September is probably the best time for us to really dive deeper into it?
For sure. That's going to be a deep dive.
All right.
That's
Yeah.
going to be a deep dive. Well,
I'm
everybody,
game.
thank you so much for being here. Thank you for subscribing. Keep an eye out for these featurettes. They're going to come up just as regular videos. They're not going to be live. We're going to pair off. We're going to go deep on them so that you can get some juicy news in between our lives.
Don't forget, we do this panel every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 Pacific, and I forget what it is in the UK. I apologize. I think it's about a 5-hour differential. So that puts it
6
at
p.m.
about, what's that?
6 p.m.
6 p.m. I said 5-hour differential. At least I just didn't have the quick math. I wasn't mathing. There you go. For the panel for this week, we will reconvene at next Thursday, May 16th. So until then, look for the featurettes. Please follow the YouTube channel that we have for the Psychic News Report, and we will see all of you in the future.